The walkthrough for the IGCSE paper, higher 1H from the January 2022 series. A to the power 7 times a to the power 4. What do we do with powers when the base is the same as you're multiplying? You just add the powers, a to the power 11. W to the power 15 divided by W to the power 3. What do we do with powers when the base is the same and you're dividing? You just subtract them. So 15 take away 3 is 12. So we've got 8x power 5 y cubed all to the power all squared. So sometimes people need a little reminder of this. If we had something like this, what's the rule? What's x squared to the power 5? You multiply the powers. So when you've got a letter, we're going to multiply the powers. So y cubed squared, 3 times 2 is 6. We need to square everything in this bracket. So x to the power 5 squared, 5 times 2 is 10, would be x to the power 10. And don't forget to square your 8 as well. You've got to square everything in your brackets. 8 squared, 64. So the answer is 64, x to the power 10, y to the power 6. Make t the subject. I need to get t by itself, so I'm going to add 8v to both sides first. C plus 8v equals t cubed. Then I'm going to cube, that does not look like an equals. Then I'm going to cube root both sides. So I'm going to cube root my c plus 8v. Cube root t is just cube root of t cubed is just t. So t equals the cube root of c plus 8v. And then I'm just going to calculator. Okay, so question 2. Daniel, Gabriel and Hadley share some money in the ratio 3 to 5 to 9. The difference between the amount that Gabriel receives and the amount of money that Hadley receives is 196 euros. Work out the amount of money that Daniel receives, right? So I think of this as parts. Daniel has 3 parts. Gabriel has 5 parts. And Hadley has 9 parts. The difference between the amount of money that Gabriel and Hadley receives is 196 euros. So what's the difference in the amount of parts they have? Can you see it's 4? So these 4 boxes represent 196 euros. So what does each part represent? 196 divided by 4 is 49. You've got to imagine every single box in this ratio represents 49. Work out the amount that Daniel receives. Well, it's 49 times 3, 147. That angle triangle with an angle SOHCAHTOA. Our missing length is AB, so I'm going to put an X there. We've got the hypotenuse, we've got the opposite. SOHCAHTOA, what uses O and H? Sine of an angle equals opposite over hypotenuse, because O over H. Opposite is X, hypotenuse is 8.4. How do we make X a subject here? We times both sides by 8.4. So 8.4 times sine 65 is X. To 3 significant figures, 7.61. Okay, Sarah makes and sells mugs. On one day, she makes 150 mugs. The total costs. So total cost is 1,140. I'm gonna break up first into money spent and money made. So total costs were 1,140 pounds, weren't they? 2/5 are small mugs. So what's 2/5 of 150? Well, 150 divided by 5 times 2 is 60. So she's got 60 small mugs at £8.50. So 60 times £8.50. £510 on a small mugs. 32% are of the 140 are medium mugs. So what's 32% of 150? We do 0.32 times 150, don't we? 48. 48 medium mugs, so 48 times £11.20. £537.60. And the rest are large mugs. So 150, take away 48, take away 60, gives you 42 large mugs. 42 times £14.20. £596.40. If you add all of those together, I could use my calculator, you get 1,644. So she spent 1,140, she's made 1,644. What's her percentage profit? A couple of different ways of doing this. I always do the difference, like the amount of profit, divided by original times 100. Because it's asking what's the percentage change, really. But you could have done this a slightly different way, by just dividing them, but then you'd have to have worked out what it was as a multiplier from the multiplier. So the difference, 1,644 minus 1,140 is 504 over the original times 100. And there's whole number, 44%. Okay, so we've got 6 cards here. Each card has a whole number written on it. Smallest is 5, largest is 24, median's 14. So I know the number here between these two has to be 14, right? The mode of the numbers is 8. So most common needs to be 8. I'm going to put 8 and 8 there. So to get this median from these two numbers here, like if we knew what these numbers were to find the median, add them up and halve them. So I'm going to double 14 to get 28. 28 take away 8 is 20. So putting a 20 there, can you see, would give you a median of 14, because 20 add 8 divided by 2 gives you 14. The middle number between 8 and 20 is 14. And you can add any number here, really, so 21. Basketball team plays 6 games. Well, IGCSE love this type of question. It's all about your totals. After playing 5 games, the team has a median of 21 points. So what's the total amount of points they have after 5 games? Well, if the median, sorry, if the mean is 20, 21 times 5 is going to give us a total number of points after 5 games, isn't it? Which is 105. After 6 games, the mean score is they get a mean score of 23 points per game. Again, let's get the total after 6 by doing 6 times 23. Which is 138. So the difference will give us how many they scored in that 6th game. 138, take 105 is 33. Solve the inequality. Just imagine it's an equation, but just leave your inequality sign. Add 7 to both sides. 5x is less than or equal to 9. Divide both sides by 9. Sorry, by 5. X is less than or equal to 9 over 5. Right, you might have it as a decimal, in which case you've got 1.8, or a mixed number fraction is absolutely fine there. Right. Factorize. So we need 2 numbers. But so it's double bracket here. You can tell it's double bracket because it's y squared, y and a number. Multiply to get minus 35, and then 2 numbers that add to get negative 2. What are they? 7, something to do with 7 and 5. One's got to be negative though, right? So it's 7 and no, it's not. It's the other way around. It's minus 7 and 5. So it'll be x minus 7. I'll put it here. X minus 7, x plus 5. They want us to use the answer to solve this. So we've already factorised it. Sorry, why have you put an x there? We've already factorised it. This bracket multiplied by this bracket gives 0. So either bracket is equal to 0. If that first bracket was equal to 0, y would be 7, right? 7 take away 7, 0. And if this second bracket is equal to 0, y would be minus 5. So those are your two answers, 7 or minus 5. Set notation. A intersect B is 5, 10, 15. A intersect B is your middle bit, right? Not B is all of these numbers. Not A is all of those numbers. So what's in neither A or B here? 14. 14 is going to have to go on the outside, right? What else? 8. And 7. Okay, not in B. So what's not in B? 9. But if it was not in A as well, it would be in this list. So it's got to be in A, if that makes sense. Same with 11. Same with 12. And same with 13. And we can use the same logic to work out that 4 and 6 must be in B. That is your completed. Oh no, is it? Have we got all the numbers here now? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Did I put B there? No, that is 15. It just looks like a B. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Oh, we got 50. Yes, we got 15 there. Okay, work out the value of A times B. Okay, in standard form, you could not type this in your calculator because it wouldn't be able to deal with this big 10 to the power 145. This is A times B. Right, so I'm going to work out 4.2 times 3 first, which is 12.6. Now, what do you do? The base is the same and we're multiplying powers. So we just add our powers together, don't we? So we will multiply in. We're doing 10 to the minus 24 multiplied by 10 to the 145. You just add your powers. So minus 24 add 145 is 121. That's not in standard form though, because that 12.6 is above 10. So let's divide that by 10 to get 1.26. Because we made that 10 times smaller, you need to make this 10 times bigger. So it'd be times 10 to the power of 122. Calculate the area of triangle ABC. I can see it's an isosceles triangle, so it's symmetrical. Oh, and look, we've got a right angle here. Oh, right angle triangles. May this be a Pythagoras question? We've got a length. We've got that length's 14. Yeah, okay. So let's work out what the height of this triangle, because to work out the area of a triangle, it's base times height divided by 2, right? But we do not know the height of this at the moment. So Pythagoras, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. You might set it out a little different to me, but x would be the square root of 17.5 squared take away 14 squared. 17.5 is your hypotenuse, right? So hypotenuse is always c, a, b, c, a squared, or we've done a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So x is 10.5. Your height's 10.5. How do you work out the area of a triangle? The base times the height divided by 2. 28 times 10.5 divided by 2 gives you 147 centimeters squared. Find the gradient of L. To find the gradient of a straight line, it needs to be in the form y equals mx plus c. So we need to make y the subject first. So we're going to take 7x off both sides. So 2y equals 10 minus 7x. And then we're going to divide both sides by 2. So y equals 10 minus 7x over 2. I'm going to divide both of those things by 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. I'm going to, because I've just got it in a slightly different order, let me just rearrange it a bit. That's the same as minus 3.5x plus 5. So your gradient is minus 3.5. Find the coordinates of the point where L crosses your y-axis. So crosses your y-axis. Don't even need to do any working out, do we? That's a y-intercept we're looking for. What is your y-intercept? Well, it's already in the form y equals mx plus c. So your y-intercept 5. So what's the coordinates? 0, 5. Himari invests 200,000 yen for 3 years in a savings account paying compound interest. The rate of interest is 1.8% for the first year and then X% for each of the second year and the third year. So we need to think about our formula for compound interest. It's amount times multiplier to the power n, isn't it? The number, the amount of time. So the amount is 200,000. Right, what's your multiplier for an increase of 1.8%? Well, what's 100% plus 1.8%? It's 101.8%. Divide it by 100 is 1.018. That's for your first year. We do not know the interest rate for the second year because we want it as a multiplier. I'm just going to put y for the minute. And it'd be y squared because it's for the second and the third year. So we've got your first year, second year, third year. But we know it gives us an answer of 209,754 yen. So I'm going to work out this 200,000 times 1.018 first, which is 203,600. So even if you couldn't do anything else, you would have picked up 1 mark probably for doing that. I'm going to divide both sides by 203,600. So y squared is 1.03. Okay, now what does that mean in terms of a multiplier though? Not sure if it is that. I think I've worked it out wrong. Let's have a look. 209,754 divided by 203,600. Ah, of course. You have done it right. I need to square root both sides, don't I? Square root both sides to get y. Gives you 1.015. There's a load of zeros after that, so I'll leave it like this. Right, so what is this? This is just our multiplier. Now let's go back from here just to see how, right? For this increase of 1.8%, your multiplier was 1.018. Let's go back along here to help us work out what your percentage increase would be for a multiplier of 1.015. Well, okay, so we divided by 100. To go back, we times by 100. So let's times this by 100, and we get 101.5%. And then what did we do? Okay, from here, we did 100% plus 1.8% to get this. We need to take off 1. To get back to our 1.8% here, we do 101.8%, take away 100%. So let's take 100% off here. And we get 1.5%. So that is your percentage increase for the second and third years to 1 decimal place. Okay, cumulative frequency. So we add up our values as we're going along. Between 0 and 10 is just 7. Between 0 and 20, well, it's 26 plus 7, isn't it? Which is 33. And then you'd add your 24. So you get 57, 71, 78, and 80. Right, we're going to draw it on here. Right, so carefully with your scale. So we want to plot. Oh, I need to snip this just so I can see what I'm doing here. We need to plot the upper bound. We need to plot the upper bound here against this cumulative frequency. The upper bound is 10. Well, it starts at 0, look, so let's just put a mark here. 10 to 7, 10 to 7. 20 to 33, 20 to 30. The scale's pretty straightforward. Nothing to worry about there. 30 to 57. 40 to 71. 50 to 78. And 60 to 80. Right, it's up to you. If you draw it up with a curve or a straight line, either's fine. I'm going to go for a curve because I don't have a ruler function on this. Use your graph to estimate the median time taken. Okay, so there are 80. What we actually look customers. So the middle customer be at 40. So let's go across from 40, which would give us 20. Again, it's best to show the examiner where you got your answer from. If you do these markings on your graph, 23 minutes. Right. So looking at the mark scheme, it seems like you'd get the answer here for any numbers between 21 and 24. One of the 80 customers is chosen at random. Use your graph to find an estimate of the probability that the time taken by this customer was more than 42 minutes. Let's just go up from 42 minutes here. Let's go across, take you to there. So just looking at your graph, right? All these customers took less than 42 minutes. So these customers on the other side that took more than 42 minutes. How many customers is that? So it's 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 8 out of a total of 80 customers. You might want to simplify that to 1/10 if you want, or you can just leave it like that. It doesn't ask you to simplify. Okay, we've got some triple brackets to expand next. I will expand these double brackets first. 3x squared minus 4x. 2 times 3x is 6x. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. And you times all that by this 5x. 5x times 3x squared is 15x cubed. 5x times minus 4x is minus 20x squared. 5x, sorry, you could have simplified it. I would have normally simplified this first. Not sure I didn't, but it doesn't matter. You get the same answer. 5x times 6x is 30x squared. 5x times minus 8 is minus 40x. And then we just simplify that by collecting the like terms. 15x cubed minus 20 plus 30 is positive 10x squared minus 40x for all your marks there. Right, we're starting to maybe possibly get to some questions you might start struggling with from here. This negative power, because it's negative power, we flip to make it into a positive power, right? The negative bit means 1 divided by, let me show you. So if it was 4 to the minus 2, it'd be 1 over 4 squared, right? Which is 1 over 16. Right, if it was 2/3 squared, we just square everything inside your bracket, 4 over 9. But if it's 2 over 3 to the minus 2, the minus means you flip it and then you square it. So I'd flip it first and then square it. Okay, that's absolutely nothing to do with this question. It's just a little explanation. So this negative part means you flip it. So y to the power 20 over 16 w to the power 8. We've got rid of that negative. So it's just the power of 3/4. Right, what's y to the power 20 to the power 3/4? We just multiply our powers there, don't we? So what's 20 times 3/4? You can just use your calculator as 15. You've got y to the power 15 at the top. We can do the same to this w to the power 8. We can power 3/4 it, so it's 8 times 3/4. Again, use your calculator, which gives us 6. So we've got this 16 to the power 3/4. You can actually just type that on your calculator. There's nothing stopping you. But that means the 4th root of 16, which is 2, and then 2 cubed, which is 8. So that should be your final answer. Y to the power 15 over 8w to the power 6. Okay, so packet A, 7 seeds of sunflowers out of a total of 12, which would mean this would be 5/12, right? Packet B, 8 of sunflower, so 8/15, 7/15, 8/15, 7/15. Calculate, this is quite a nice simple probability question. Calculate the probability that Ica will take 2 sunflower seeds. Sunflower and a sunflower seed, you just multiply along your tree. I would just type this straight into my calculator. 7/12 times 8/15 is 14 over 45. Now, the main mistake here that people make is for some reason, well, no, when it's usually when it's done in words, they miss out the square bit because it's not. It actually says c squared. You probably won't miss this out. A is inversely proportional to c squared, which means A is equal to k over c squared. A is 40. So when A is 40, C is 1.5. So we're going to use that to work out our constant proportionality. Times both sides by 1.5 squared. So 40 times 1.5 squared gives you your k is 90. Right, so now we can use our k in this formula here. We know A equals 90 over c squared. We want to know what is C when A is 1,000. 1,000 is 90 over c squared. I'm going to times both sides by c squared first. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 1,000. Square root both sides. 0.3. Sector area, arc length type of question by the looks of this one. Arc of ABC is 5. And I'm guessing we don't know the radius. So arc length there's 5. We know the angle is 55. Work out the area of the circle. Area of circle is pi r squared. What is r? Right, so what is the formula for arc length? It's theta over 360 times the circumference of your circle, which is 2 pi r. Theta is 50. So we know 50 over 360 times 2 pi r is equal to 5. And we need to manipulate that to work out r. I'm going to times both sides by 360 first, which gives you, which gives you 50 times 2 pi r equals 1,800. Then I'm going to, right, 50 times 2 is 100. So we've got 100 pi r is 1,800. I'm going to divide both sides by 100 pi, which gives the r 5.729. 5 ... Work that out again. No, it's 50. It's not right. I wonder why I got a slightly different answer. It's 55. Right. You probably did notice that. I'm thinking, why on earth has she put 50? And solve that quite easily. So R equals 1,800 divided by 110 pi. 5.2. So what's your area of a circle? Pi times that 5.2 squared. When we're working out, I'm going to just put pi times 5.2 squared. When I work out the answer, I'm just going to carry that whole other answer forward. So I'm going to do pi times answer squared to one decimal place, 85.2. It does say on the mark scheme, allow 84.9 to 85.4. Similar shapes. So what you should be thinking when you've got a similar shape question is scale factor for length, scale factor for area, scale factor for volume. Length to area squared, length to volumes cubed. Going back, square root, cube root. Got a height and a height, so we can get the scale factor for length, can't we? So what is the scale factor for length? 15 divided by 10, which is 1.5. We're given some information about the volume here, not the actual volume of either of these, but some information about it. So what do we do to get the scale factor for volume? We need to cube this 1.5. So even if you can't do anything past there, if you have done this, you would have picked yourself some marks up. How many marks would you have got? You would have got only just one mark for that. Okay, so I know, so the difference between the volume of vase A and the volume of vase B is 1,197. Okay, so I know the vol A times 3.375 equals vol B, right? Because we know, if you know that volume, you times it by the scale factor volume to get this. But we also know the difference between volume of vase A and the volume of vase B is 1,197. The volume of this vase B is going to be bigger. Let me just get rid of this vol so I can just write it as A and B. Might look better. So we also know that B, the volume of B, take away the volume of A, is 1,197, don't we? So if I just rearrange this a bit, I know that B equals 1,197 plus A. I've added A to both sides and made B the subject. Now I know that, I can put it into this equation and can substitute that in for my B. So I know A, I'm going to write this in more algebraically, 3.375A equals 1,197 plus A. Okay, shall I take A from both sides? Let's balance out my A's by taking A from both sides. 1A from both sides. I take 1A. I get 2.33. Sorry, 2.375. A equals 1,197. What do I need to do now? I need to divide both sides by 2.375. Which gives you A is 504. That's your volume of the smaller vase. Upper bounds, lower bounds. Right, it's probably best to put in again, even if you don't get the full question correct. Let's get in our lower bounds and upper bounds for each one. So for W, It would be 3.445, 3.455, 3.445. For your X, it would be 1.95, 1.85. And for your Y, it would be 5.5, 4.5. Work out a lower bound of the value for A. Right now, what a lower bound for a difference. The final step would be a difference here, like a W, take away this. To get a lower bound by doing like a difference, you need the lower bound for this. Subtract the upper bound for this, don't you? So I know I'm definitely going to need my lower bound for W, which is 3.445. But I need an upper bound for this. How do you get an upper bound for a division? Hang on. To get an upper bound for the division, you need the biggest take away the smallest. So my biggest X is 1.95. I need 1.95 squared over the smallest Y, which is 4.5. Okay, type that in your calculator. 3.445, subtract 1.95 squared divided by 4.5 gives you an answer of 2.6. Solve the simultaneous equations. So we've got the top one, it's got X and Y's in. Obviously the bottom one has as well, but Y is already the subject for the bottom one. So I'm going to sub that straight into the top equation. So any value of Y here, I'm just going to sub this in. So that one and that one. We've got 3x squared, add 2x minus 3 squared, minus x times y, which is 2x minus 3. I know that is equal to 5. Now I just need to manipulate this correctly. It's worth 5 marks. 3x squared. Don't forget this is a double bracket here, isn't it? So you've got to imagine expanding it like this as a double bracket, which gives you 2x times 2x is 4x squared. Minus 3 times 2x is minus 6x. Again, the minus 6x plus 9. Minus 2x squared minus x times minus 3 is plus 3x. Just be careful of that. That's definitely a place where people would go wrong here. Negative x times negative 3 is positive 3x. Let me just simplify that. Let's collect my x squares together. 3 plus 4 is 7. Take away 2 is 5. So you've got 5x squared. Let's gather together my x's. Minus 12x plus 3x is minus 9x. I want to bring, I know this is going to be a quadratic, well, I can see it's a quadratic equation. We've got an x squared. To solve a quadratic equation, it needs to be equal to 0. I'm going to take 5 off both sides here, which gives you plus 4 is equal to 0. Now it's equal to 0. Well, you could use the quadratic formula to solve it, or you could factorize it, completely up to you. I'm going to factorize it by using the splitting down the middle method. So I know a times b, 5 times 4 is 20. And add to get minus 9. There are a few different ways that you may have learnt for factorising a quadratic with the coefficient of x squared bigger than 1. Okay, but I'm going to use this method. So two numbers that multiply to get 20 and add to get minus 9, minus 4, minus 5. You've got 5x squared minus 5x minus 4x plus 4 equals 0. I'm going to factorise this side. And then don't forget you need to have the same expression in both of these brackets. And also, obviously, if I expand this, then I'm going to get minus 4x plus 4. So I've done the right thing here. So it's minus 5x minus 4 in one bracket, x minus 1 in another bracket. Those two brackets multiply to get 0. So x is 1 in this instance. What about this instance? Well, let's just put it equal to 0 first. Let's add 4 to both sides. Divide both sides by 5, which gives you 4/5 or 0.8. Then got x's, we also need to find our y's. So an x is 1 and a y is equal to 2x minus 3 from here. I'm going to sub that in to get my y. So 2 times 1, take away 3, so y is minus 1. So that'd be one of yours when x is 1, y is minus 1. Okay, and this one here, 2 times, so 2 times 0.8, take away 3 to get your y. 2 times 0.8, take away 3, gives you minus 1.4. So here the other one, x is 0.8, y is minus 1.4. Well then, if you got that correct, most people doing this paper would not get that question correct. Right, question, not so many more questions left. All right, yeah, we can see we got some nice questions coming up here. Okay, right. Completing the square. The coefficient of x squared is not 1. I'm going to rearrange this to get minus 3x squared plus 12x plus 7. So I want to complete the square because it was wanting it in this form. Can you see they've completed the square there? So I'm going to take out this minus 3 because I need the coefficient of x squared to be 1. So this would be minus 4x, wouldn't it? And I'm going to leave that. So I've just factorised this. Can you see, to get an x squared minus 4x? If I multiply those brackets out, you get minus 3x squared plus 12x. And I'm just going to complete the square with this bit here because we have got our coefficient of x squared as 1 now. This is where I need my big brackets. You half this 4 to get 2. Minus 2 times minus 2 is 4. I need to take that off. Then I'm going to multiply it all by minus 3. Don't forget to multiply this 4 by minus 3. Minus 3 times minus 4 is positive 12. Simplify. 12 plus 7 is 19. But I'm going to need to rearrange it so it's in this form here. So it's 19 minus 3 bracket x minus 2 squared. Right. When you've got something in the completed the square form, it tells you the minimum part of your curve. So let's say we had something like this. That minimum point of your curve, I know from this would be at minus 4, minus 3. So because it's always the opposite sign of this, and then this coordinate here. So because it's like, you're always solving it, aren't you? Minus 4, minus 3. So what would the maximum, because obviously it's a minus 3x squared, so what would your maximum point be? Opposite sign for the number with your x, which is 2, and 19. All right, so this looks like an interesting question here. ABCD is a square, so I feel like I want to call that x. X. BCD is an equilateral triangle, but they're all x till 2, aren't they? So all of these are x's. EF equals 2AE, so let's call that 2x. M is the midpoint of GF, so that JM is vertical. Okay. Angle MAJ. Let's do that in a slightly different colour. MAJ. I'm thinking 3D, Pythag, Sokotoa perhaps. MAJ. Oh, look, we've got a nice right angle triangle there is Y. Given that tan Y equals T, find the value of T. Not an easy question at all. First point to note, the tan of an angle is opposite over adjacent. So that T is really just, even though it's written in a really complicated way, it's just asking for you the opposite over adjacent. That's the opposite, that's the adjacent. So we really want to work out, again, which is not easy to do, we want to work out the length of the adjacent and the length of the opposite. Let's get a different colour. Let's start with the adjacent, I think. Can you see, like, this is a rectangle at the bottom, isn't it? Can you see? I'm looking at this right angle, sorry, got a rectangle at the bottom, but I'm looking at this right angle triangle. There's your rectangle at the bottom. M is your midpoint there. And I'm looking at, I can form a right angle triangle here. So I'm going to use Pythagoras to get that length A. I know that's X. And I know that's 2X, right? So I just want that hypotenuse will give you the length A to M. I'm just going to call that A. No, let's just call it C because it is the hypotenuse. Might get confusing if I start, but even though it's called it the adjacent here, I'm going to call it, what did I want to call it? C. Okay, so C squared equals A squared plus B squared. Sorry, that length A to E is X. That isn't X there, it's half X, isn't it? Because A, the whole thing is X. This bit here is a half X because it's from A to your midpoint. Right, so C squared is the square root of, no, C squared equals A squared plus B squared. So I'm going to call that A and that B. So you want half X squared, add 2X squared. What's half X squared? A half squared, half times a half is a quarter. It's quarter X squared. What's 2X squared? 2 times 2 is 4. 2 squared is 4. 4X squared. Okay, add them together. 4 plus a quarter. 17 over 4. C squared equals 17 over 4. X squared. Square root both sides. C equals square root of all of this. But I can square root some of these, can't I? So I can't really square root 17. It's going to just leave it like that. Square root of 4 is 2. Square root of X squared is X. So that is your length, A. Right, so that's your length A. Let's have a look at your length O now. So your length O. So from, we know this is a square at the back here, so all of these are X. You know that length from A to the midpoint of HK is just X, isn't it? Right, we know that, so that's fine. But what's this here? What's this height of this equilateral triangle at the back? For that equilateral triangle, all your sides are X. So I'm going to split this equilateral triangle. That there's half X. And this here, this hypotenuse is X. So I want to work out this length here. I'm just going to call Y. So we know that Y would be, you might just want to do this in steps, but it's going to be the square root of X squared minus half X squared. You may have done that in a few different steps. So let's just see how we can work this out. Let's work out this bit under the square root first. Half X squared is, so I'm just going to rub this out and carry on down here. Half X squared is a quarter X squared. Let's just simplify our terms here. What's 1 minus a quarter X squared? Would just be 3/4 X squared. Let's just square root what we can here. Can't square root 3, so I'm going to leave it as a third. Square root of 4 is 2. Square root of x squared is x. So this is my opposite. No, it's not, because we need to add x to it, don't we? That's just my length from here to here. So my full I to m from opposite is equal to x plus root 3 over 2x. And my adjacent is this root 17 over 2. Let's just, so we've got some more space, good. Let me just write that down. So tan y and its opposite, which was x, add root 3 over 2x. All over my adjacent, which is this. Right, so let's just simplify that now. So, I might add these together. So you've got x, add root 3 over 2x. A few different ways you could do this, but what's just 1 plus root 3 over 2? No, I'm not. I'm going to do it like this. So let's just make this into a fraction, x over 1. Common denominator, I'm going to leave this as root 3 over 2 like this. So my common denominator, I need to multiply both of these by 2, right? To get my common denominator of 2. So that would give you x plus root 3x. Sorry, I've got to times that by 2 all over 2. So can you just see I've multiplied this by 2 and I've multiplied this by 2. And then that's divided by root 17 over 2x, isn't it? So can you see here? Then we can just keep flip change using our fraction knowledge. So we're going to keep this first fraction. We're going to change and we're going to flip this. Multiply the top, multiply the bottom. Right, these twos cancel out. I'm left with 2x plus root 3x all over root 17x. Everything's got an x in, so I can cancel out the x's as well, which gives you 2 plus root 3 over root 17. But can you see from the beginning of the question, you need to rationalise the denominator. So I'm going to multiply both the top and the bottom by root 17. Which gives you 17 on the bottom, which is, so it's looking like this is correct, which we do have 17 on the bottom. And I'm going to multiply the top 2 times root 17 is 2 root 17. 3 times 17, so they're both under a root, so root 3 times root 17 is root 51. So I'm nearly there, but we want root p and root q where p and q are integers. So I need to get this all under a root. So 2 root 17, let's just think about this, right, would be the same as root 4 times root 17, right? Root 4 is 2. So that is equal to root 4 times root 17. 4 times 17 is root 68. So it's root 68. So it's root 68, your final answer, plus root 51 over 17. Not an easy question, that. So well done if you picked up any marks there. OA is 8A. OB, 6B. M is the midpoint on OB, such that OM to MB is 1 to 2. N is the midpoint of AB. P is the point of intersection, so ON and AM. Use a vector method to find OP. Again, this is quite a nasty question too here. Right, OP is part way along ON, right? I'm going to say it's XON because it's part way along it. We know that. Okay, we don't know how far away along it is, but we know it's like a fraction of that whole line there. So we should work out ON first. Let me work out ON because I feel like I'm going to need a lot of space here as well over here. ON, how do we get a vector? So for ON, we need BA first. Let me get BA over here. Because to get from O to N, it would be O to B plus B to N. And BN is halfway along BA. So let's get BA first of all. BA is quite straightforward. It's minus 6B plus 8A. Because it's the wrong way through that arrow, the right way through that one. You can see like that, wrong way, right way. Let's just get rid of that bit. We know that BN is halfway, N is the midpoint of AB. The B to N is half of minus 6B plus 80. The BN, half of minus 6B is minus 3B. Half of 8A is 4A. Okay, so that was all right. So ON is O to B plus B to N. So ON is 6B. Add minus 3B plus 4A. 6B, add minus 3B is just 3B, so it's 3B plus 4A. So we know then that OP is part way along this 3B plus 4A. So it's X, 3B plus 4A. Okay, there's your first bit. Because we've got an unknown here, we need to see if we can find OP in a different, through a different way, right? So we've got OP being part way through O to N. Let's try and find it in a different way. So we could also say, right, to get from O to P, let me choose a different colour here again. O to P is O to M plus M to P. Right, O to M, what is O to M? O to M is part way along the line O to B. It's this ratio 1 to 2, means it's a third of the way along. So it's a third of 6B plus M to P. Wow, what is M to P? Well, it's part way along M to A. So we need M to A as well. So M to A is O to B. No, sorry, it's M to B plus B to A. So MB plus BA. Okay, MB is 2/3 of 6B plus B to A is minus 6B plus 80. Right, 2/3 of 6, 6 divided by 3 is 2 times 2 is 4, so it's 4B minus 6B plus 8A, which is minus 2B plus 80. So, right, so M to P is part way along this line M to A. So for this M to P here, we're going to use a different letter, Y minus 2B plus 80. Let me just simplify this a bit. O to P, a third of 6B is 2B. And I'm just going to leave it like this. Now, can you see I've got OP in two different ways? Right, so I'm going to put these equal to each other because I've got O to P equals O to P, right? So I know X equals this over here. Right, I'm going to do something called equating coefficients of both sides. Well, equating coefficients of letters, sorry. I'm going to equate coefficients of A. So if I multiply out these brackets here, I have 3bx plus 4ax. So what's the coefficient of A? What is with A? 4x. If I equated coefficients of A on this side, so when we equate coefficients of A, we do it on both sides, right? This is a coefficient of B. Coefficient of A here, it'd be 8y. So I know 4x equals 8y. Now we're going to equate the coefficients of B. So if I expanded these brackets, it'd be 3bx. So what's with our B? 3x. What's with your B here? 2 minus 2y. So if I expanded these brackets here, I have minus 2by. This is a 2b here. So the coefficient of B here is 2 minus 2y. Now, I need to find out what x and y is. So let me make x a subject here, perhaps. Yeah, I'm going to make x a subject here. So divide both sides by 4. X is 8 over 4y. X is equal to 2y. If I know x is equal to 2y, I can actually just sub that straight into there, can't I? So I can say 3x is equal to 2 minus x. Right, let me add an x to both sides. So x is equal to a half. I'm sorry, I've forgotten what I'm actually doing here now. Use a vector method to find OP. All right, let's just put that straight into there then now. Now we know that's a half. OP equals a half. 3b plus 4a. Just expanded the brackets there. Half times 3 is, yes, 3 over 2b plus 2a. There's your answer. I found, it didn't even have to find, so I thought I was going to find out why I didn't need to. Now I know x is a half. I just subbed it back into here. Now I've got an expression for OP in terms of A and B. So this is your final answer here. 3 over 2b plus 2a. Still a couple more questions to go. Right, so f of x plus 9, transformations of graphs. We're adding 9 inside of our function, which what does that mean? It means it's moving left 9. It's moving left 9. It's affecting your x-axis. I'm going to take 9 off of my x-axis, which gives you minus 4, 7. F of x plus 3, oh, this is a nice easy one after those, well, that last difficult one, the last two difficult ones. F of x plus 3 means you're moving your graph up 3. We're adding outside our function. So if you add out 3 outside your function, we need to add 3 to your y coordinate, which gives you 5, 10. Last one, coordinate geometry. The curve C has equations. We've got a cubic curve here. Let me just draw a little, I like to draw a little sketch. Don't know really what it looks like. Here's a cubic curve. The point A with coordinates 2 minus 6. Definitely not drawn my curve right. Okay. The point A with coordinates 2, -6, so let's say there, lies on C. The gradient of the curve at A is 16. So I'm just thinking, to find the gradient, we need our gradient function. How would you get the gradient function? You differentiate this. So let's differentiate this expression, this equation, multiply by the power, take 1 off the power, multiply the power, take 1 off the power. That would just be -12. We know the gradient at A is 16, so we can put that equal to 16. But we also know our x coordinate at the point A. Our x coordinate's 2. So we can sub x equals 2 into this equation. 2 squared is 4. We've got 12a. 2 times 2 is 4. 4b minus 12 equals 16. I'm just looking at this and wondering if it is going to be simultaneous equations. So we're going to be adding 12 to both sides. Let me just get it set up. If I might be wrong, let's just get it set up. So we've got A's and B's on one side, number on the other side. Right, because I think it's simultaneous equations, we're looking for another equation, aren't we? Well, we know the point 2 - 6 lies on that line, so I can sub those values into that equation. Y is 6. X is 2. 2 cubed is 8. 2 squared is 4. 24 plus 6. Let me just rearrange that. So I'm going to add 24 to both sides and then take off 6 from both sides, which gives you 12 equals 8a plus 4b. Right, so let me just write them down underneath each other because they are simultaneous equations. 12a plus 4b equals 28. 8a plus 4b equals 12. My b's are the same, it's going to subtract the equations. 12a take away 8a is 4a. 16, a is 4. A is 4, what's b? Let's sub it into this equation here. 48 plus 4b equals 28. Take off 48 from both sides. Divide both sides by 4. B is -5. So we know A is 4, B is -5. Put it back into this equation. So we now know the full, this is what this equation is, and just in terms of x. So y equals, A is 4. So it would be 4x cubed minus 5x squared minus 12x plus 6. It's wanting the y coordinate when x is 3. So I'm just going to sub x equals 3 into this equation. So y equals 4 times 3 cubed minus 5 times 3 squared minus 12 times 3 plus 6. I'm just going to put it all into my calculator. Should get the answer 33. That wasn't too bad. Hopefully you picked up some marks on this. But as you can see, some of those end questions were quite difficult. Okay, hopefully you found that useful. There should be another paper, another higher paper on here for you to go through. Okay, thank you.